So the next moment, with the second interview, and I would ask Francesco Mondada to come up. He's going to come up here and talk to us about robots. Are they friends or foe? So, Francesco, this is the humanoid with strange eyes and gestures, without the flexibility that we can do. So, are they dangerous individuals? Are they gonna take our jobs in the future? They're gonna kill us with their lasers. So that's the big image of science fiction. But robots elicit a lot of hope and fear, and the media likes to play on that a lot because it brings in clients, it increases readership, and that's good. If we leave the hopes to the side for the moment, in terms of the fears, there's one fear that we can quickly set aside, and that's that they're going to revolt against us. We laugh, but people, the general public, really has a tendency to project emotions and to project intentions on these machines that don't understand in concrete terms. And when you learn the story of the old woman who talks with her vacuum cleaner and leaves it with her neighbors when she goes on vacation, there's something behind that, and perhaps we must not forget this entirely. And then there's the other great fear that they'll take our jobs, and of course the media like playing with that because it makes titles and brings in readers. For me, I don't have any big element that shows that in industry, the fact of automation has really decreased the amount of jobs available out there. We've seen companies use automation to diversify their offer and therefore to run better and to hire people. But we've also seen people brought back in to or bring production to other countries because we could do production here, and so we could have flourishing companies here. So it's very difficult to speak about robots that steal jobs. And finally, I think what's important to understand is that a robot is a tool. When you say tool, it also means controlling the tool. So if you give me a stethoscope, I wouldn't know what to do with it. If you told me I have to use it, it would be very strange to me because I wouldn't know what to do with it. And once I know how to use it, well, then it's going to be my friend and my companion and my tool. So I think that the robots are going to be somewhat the same thing. We can make it something that a friend if we can control it, if we use it correctly. So, Guy, but you're right. When we go to Japan, there are 3 times as many robots as are in France, but fewer unemployed people. Same thing in Germany. So there's a correlation between the two. The machines don't kill jobs. We talked about this earlier with Nicolas Boulou yesterday. So I wanted to come back to what you were saying earlier between the relation between the army and industry. Are you one of those who think that the defense agency, American defense, which puts up billions of dollars, is also linked with Hollywood that makes these movies? So it's a military, industrial, artistic industry. Is that the complex that we're starting to see in the world, or is that a vision that's a ridiculous view from my little French village? I think that the Americans, they have their strategy. There's a lot of involvement of the Army in the financing research in robotics. I must say that, for example, in Switzerland, we have a financing system for robotics research that's doing very well without involving the Army, without having Hollywood next to us either. And we managed to do good research and to compete with the Americans. They're different models, and I think the Americans, they have their way of doing things. They like this very pompous way of doing things that with the Army financing things. But for me, in Europe, I have very few colleagues who work for the Army. It's not that widespread, and that's a good thing. So what are they doing, and what will they do better than us? Well, So there's something of an idea that robots do simple things, and people do complicated things. And in fact, robots are going to replace us for simple things. And gradually, people who only know how to do simple things are going to lose their jobs. And people who want to do things complex things, they're going to be able to keep their jobs. I think that that's false. Simply because we don't really understand what's simple for a robot, what's complicated for a robot, what's simple for artificial intelligence, and what's complicated for artificial intelligence. A robot is a mechanism with a certain mechanical intelligence. But right now you can undo a button of your shirt, and look at how your hand works. It's simple, isn't it? Just to think of how you use your hand to open the button. Try to get a robot to do that, to unbutton a shirt, or even just to iron a square, a rectangular towel. But there are colleagues who were folding a rectangular piece of cloth, 2 million franc or euro robot. It takes it 20 minutes to do that. But that's typical things. That's something that's very simple. Folding up a towel, there's nothing to it. For a robot, that's extremely complicated. Everything that's soft materials or things that aren't really defined, for robots, it's really complicated. All dexterity, that's something that's very complicated. And then there are other things that we think are complicated. Are you capable of, do you feel like want to be the ping pong champion? But a robot can do that. It's a ball in space. It's a trajectory, a little physics. There's 3 or 4 sensors. And there you go. You'll be the champion and ping pong player. Whereas for us, that would be quite complicated. So I think that it's not so obvious to say what's simple and what's complicated. And all of a sudden, we realize we're seeing a job or a debate that's disappearing. And whereas we're going to see one job disappear and not another one. Because some jobs, some things can't be automated because they're too simple. I think we're faced with a period where we have to be sufficiently attentive to what kind of techniques are developing and which one will allow us to make real steps, concrete steps forward. You also works on the psychological aspect, reports with relations with machines and humanoids, the empathy that we can have with them. Children love their pleather, like they love their stuffed animals. People talk to their objects, and you tend to anthropomorphize toys, and so do you work on the psychological aspects between machines and people? I work on education on this, yes, but I have quite a few colleagues on humanoid rabbits. I have a big problem with that, especially with relation to the hopes that we're putting on their shoulders. And I've seen, typically, I was at a debate where one of your big French industrialists was talking about his robotics company with humanoid robotics. One time, he said, once I met a woman who, in fact, had a dependency for care. She needed a nurse all the time, and she said, when I get a humanoid robot, he's going to release me from this dependency. Yeah, and he said, yes, we're going to do that. And I said to the guy, I thought to myself, you're a bastard. You shouldn't say that. So here we're going past certain limits that we should not have gone past in terms of robotics by trying to create hopes where the humanoid robots are going to people in roles where robotics objectively can't really provide solutions. And yet, using small humanoids and the patient's, when the person can't get up, and the small humanoid robot could perhaps helps them, that could be useful because maybe a nurse is working down the hall doing something else. So there will perhaps be a certain distribution of tasks. Yes, but the robot, the universal robot, which is capable of being able to help take over some of the jobs of a nurse, some very simple ones. Yeah, but there are lots of simple little things. So which simple little things are we talking about? See, that's the debate. Since universality of machines, we're very far from that. We're very far from that. And maybe robots one of these days, with good visions, right now they might be able to find your glasses that are on the end of the bed. They have to be fairly standard glasses. I won't be able to recognize them. But after that, you have to take this in hand. To have a robot with dexterity that could be able to pick up a pair of glasses, just to pick up the glasses when they fall down. I'm not sure that the investment is right there right now. We saw that with the Google car. It's incapable of driving the rain because it ruins the sensors. Or a little asterisk or on the sign, it doesn't recognize it. So there's still room for place for people. I think man must better understand what this tool really is, and what this tool can do, and what this tool can't do. The example that we had of this unfortunate driver of a Tesla, who didn't understand that the truck that was coming was not going to detect him, that he finished at 5 kilometers an hour in the back of the truck. This is a bad understanding of what our technologies can do or they can't do. He had a blind faith in the vehicle, and so it resulted in an accident. But I think that in our days, if we have blind confidence in technology, we're going to finish like this poor gentleman with his accident. We have to have a much better understanding of what technology knows how to do in order to control them and to properly use them and to properly exploit them, and to be able to continue building them. As Eric said yesterday, we're going towards driverless car and even no passengers. What would happen in the Place de l'Étoile in Paris with robot cars? It would be catastrophic. What would happen in the Place de l'Étoile in Paris with our eyes we can look left and right, but what in a huge traffic circle in Paris? Even the best professors, most advanced professors, they will tell you that no, there are central areas of certain towns where automatic cars will never be able to go. They'll never be able to do it. So today, they can manage on some big roads, but if there's a white truck crossing them, they can still make mistakes. So we haven't managed to a crowd or making your way through a crowd, and they can't even drive right now when it's raining. So when we see a child shows a dog or a cat, they'll look and say dog and cat, whereas the robots will say they have to have millions of examples of cats and dogs in order to be able to distinguish which one's a cat and which one's a dog. What's changing? The millions of examples, we have them. And so artificial intelligence is starting to work on in quite a high-performing way. So there's still something of an offset. Artificial intelligence is making lots of progress, and AI can have certain characteristics which are different from ours. We're copying more and more the structures, neuron structures, but here again, there's still a bit of a difference on the level of robotics and mechanics. We have some technologies which are really quite different between mechanical and what you know yourselves, the life sciences and the human structure. We have a huge difference. There's quite a big difference. Thank you very much.